So, Borky, why don't you walk us through this in terms of starting quarterbacks announced, open competition still going into week one, and how the transfer market plays a role.
Yeah, shout out to Hey Dad's friend Brandon Marcello for the extended stat of the day. Quarterbacks in college football are not coming where they used to come from. There have been 121 starters announced in college football, 10 more open jobs, one of which in Oxford, one of which in Baton Rouge, although they know who they're going to start. Just haven't announced it yet.
Brian Kelly said as much. He said, yes, we have made a decision on who we're going to start. We're not going to tell you who it is. We think it's a competitive advantage to keep that close to the vest.
Of those 121 announced starting quarterbacks, 59 of them transferred to that school. 59 of 121 is good for 48.8%. Now, the kicker is 9 of the 10 open competitions involve at least one transfer.
Wow.
I wonder what the one is.
I don't know.
I need to find that. That's going to bother me. I got to know. I got to find that out.
I don't know what the one is. But and 34 of those 59 transferred for this season. So another 15.
So when these last handful of battles are decided, the likelihood is over 50% will be transfers that are now starting, and a third will be transfers from this year.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
And there's more in-depth stats, Power 5, not Power 5, whatever. I think the point stands, and for what it's worth, 68% of the starters that will transfer came from Power 5 schools. So Power 5 transfers. What I think this has the potential of doing, though, is leveling the playing field to some degree. Because instead of the high-level programs, take Ohio State, for example. Quinn Ewers went to Ohio State. He wasn't going to play this year. Super talented quarterback, right, was going to be buried in Ohio State's depth chart. Instead, he's a starter at Texas, of all places. Ole Miss gets a transfer. But it's not just Ohio State, Texas, and even an SEC West team. Great quarterback play can be an equalizer for lesser talented programs. I've said the same thing about Miami. I think Tyler Van Dyke gives Miami a chance to level their playing field against Clemson and Texas A&M because he's a better quarterback, and that elevates that team above what the rest of the roster is right now. I think now that these talented quarterbacks are not patient and are going places where they can play right away, it spreads the talent more evenly across college football, and good quarterback play elevates teams that may be lacking in roster somewhat.
And yet, if you look at the top 10, you have number 1 Alabama with a quarterback that they got out of high school. You have number 2 Ohio State, C.J. Stroud, high school, Stetson Bennett, and all over the place. I guess Stetson Bennett would technically count as a transfer.
Transferred away, transferred back.
He was Georgia junior college back to Georgia. Clemson at number 4, DJ Uiagalelei. He's been a Clemson guy all the way. Who's starting for Notre Dame?
Notre Dame guy. I forget his name at the moment. Oh, gosh. I feel stupid. I
Doesn't matter.
had it memorized. But remember Justin Fields at Ohio State. They had good seasons under him. He was a transfer.
No, I'm just talking about right now. Texas A&M looked like they were going to give it to a transfer. Didn't. Haynes King's the starter. Cam Rising at Utah. He's been a Utah guy. Michigan with 2 out of high school, and they're going to play both of them in the first 2 weeks. Oklahoma has a transfer with Dylan Gabriel. And Baylor, I think, is going to start Blake Shapen.
I believe that is accurate.
And Gary Bohannon has entered the transfer portal. Where did he end up? He's starting somewhere, isn't he?
He is at South Florida.
Yes, he is expected to be the starter at USF. Sure is. So,
and I was thinking about this too, like FAMU, when they played North Carolina well, their quarterback was a Vanderbilt transfer. And it's different, it's FBS to FCS and all that, but he is a guy that they can't recruit and sign otherwise. Just can't. UConn with a Penn State guy. They're not beating Penn State for a quarterback ever, but they got one anyway. I like what this is doing, I think, for programs like that. I like what this is doing. Or what it could do, I guess is what I should say.
And yeah, it's funny when you look around the SEC, right? So Alabama homegrown starter, Arkansas, KJ Jefferson out of Sardis, Mississippi, North Panola High School, Auburn starting a transfer, Florida, Anthony Richardson drafted there.
Heck
Might as
yeah.
well be drafted. Yeah, you know what I mean. Committed there.
Yeah.
Georgia, Bennett, we talked about that. Kentucky, a transfer, and Will Levis. LSU, a transfer. Ole Miss, probably a transfer.
I mean, you said it yesterday.
Jackson Dart starting. Ole Miss going to be starting a transfer.
Right.
Mississippi State, guy they recruited. Missouri. Had a guy transfer out, but it's a guy they recruited. South Carolina with a transfer. Tennessee with a transfer. Texas A&M almost with a transfer. Vandy, one of their guys. Yeah. It's about half and half in the SEC.
Yeah, exactly the trend.
Which goes to the national trend as well, about half and half. And if you go to the Power 5 specifically, so you're talking about 65 schools, 58 starters announced, 7 quote-unquote open competitions, 26 of the 58 starters announced are transfers. It's about 45%. 15 of the 25 are from this past cycle. 21 transferred from other Power 5 schools, 2 from the Group of 5 and 2 from JUCOs. And 1 from the FCS. That's what you got.
And that's at Washington State is where he went.
Yeah.